any publicity is good publicity. So if we have the one true church, doing something controversial like polygamy would put it like out ahead in front of everyone. And so it would make it so people would want to research the true church more.
So God gave us polygamy
to be weird.
So that people would be intrigued by us and research us and then accidentally like us.
Fall in love with the gospel and want to join.
Okay, God. You're like, oh, my truth isn't good enough. I have to give people are so lazy, I have to give them a reason to come and look at all my truth.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do something outrageous and put polygamy in there.
So this is where the phrase comes that we're a peculiar people. So we're asked to do hard things, the refiner's fire, all that, etc. Like, we're giving so much to this thing because God asked us to, and he's using it as like a billboard, you know. This is my true church because it's got polygamy.
I hate this reason. What's the next reason?
With the limelight, though, I think it's so ironic. With the limelight reason, I don't know. I don't buy into it, obviously. I just think it's so.
What? Well, time out, guys. Kendra doesn't buy into any of this.
None of this shit. Okay, so I just think it's super ironic right now because I feel like Nelson is trying to super distance himself from anything to do with polygamy, which he's a polygamist, which is funny. But like the whole.
Let's clarify that, just in case there's anyone on here who doesn't understand that. He hasn't practiced polygamy as in he has multiple living wives, but his wife died and he remarried and he's still to both of them for the next life. That's how he's a polygamist.
So he'll be in the celestial kingdom because he's got 2 wives.
Yes. Him and Oaks. Okay.
Okay, so he took out Mormon. So if you search Mormon in Google, something polygamy related is going to come out. So I think he's trying to remove Mormonism, like the history of Mormonism, and distance as much as he can from Joseph Smith and the history, and try to kind of like rebrand the church into more like Christ and Christianism.
Yeah.
Versus like our history and this thing that we've carried around for centuries. Does that make sense?
I totally see that.
And I think it's really, like, you can see this, like, the church history manuals. Polygamy is a huge thing in church history. Huge. Like, it's the foundation of where our church started. And so much in the church now can be traced back to polygamy, which we'll talk about later. But if you go to the church history manuals, where it's supposed to tell, you know, the true history of the church, they have the date of Emma's wedding, but they don't have anything, not a scrap of Joseph Smith getting married to any other woman. Like, why wouldn't they have all the dates of like, oh, Joseph Smith married this one and this one and this one and this one? Like,
because they don't want to talk about it. They just like want us to forget about it.
Yeah.
They just want to be like, Kate, it happened. We're not talking about it, and you'll be fine.
Okay. Also, this book, huge book, all about Joseph Smith's lives.
Lives. This is all about Joseph Smith's life.
There are 561 pages about Joseph Smith and his life. There are only 23 pages. I excluded the index too, so that's not even the index. He's got like 300 pages of like notes. There are only 23 pages about polygamy in here, and this is like
23 pages. That's less pages than wives. He has more wives than pages dedicated to polygamy.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is all about Joseph Smith. The church sells this book. This is like, if you start having questions or like want to know about church history, this is the book that they say, oh, go read Rough Stone Rolling. Because it's like truthful, but still like slightly nice to Joseph Smith. 23 pages just makes me furious. Like, what is that ratio? It's like probably 0.2.
Yeah.
Can I do the math?
Yeah, do it. We're doing some math.
oh, dang it. 5, 6, 1. That's right, do right?
Okay. 4%.
4% of Joseph Smith's life was about polygamy. Only 4%. So he lived to be 38, had 33 wives, and only 23 pages. So... And I know it was like 15 years at least that he was doing polygamy. But
wow.
I personally feel the church has this agenda of scrubbing its history as clean as possible and removing as much polygamy crap as it can to become more of a Christ-centered church.
Or to keep people, because if once you get into it, you start to see it's messy, and it is really hard to do. It is the hole that never ends. Yes, it goes on and on, my friends. Yeah, and the mental gymnastics can be exhausting.
Yeah.
And it broke us. Like, I'm sure it could break lots of people.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like, I started with the idea that I just need to become comfortable with polygamy, because I realized I was like dreading eternity, like dreading heaven. I don't think you're supposed to dread heaven. I just knew I needed to come to a place where polygamy wasn't bothering. And I was talking to my sister, and she's like, you know, I've studied it. I just don't understand it right now, but I've gotten to a place where I'm at peace with it. I was like, oh, I want that peace. Like, that's what I'm looking for. So I started being like, I just need a peaceful feeling. And I started researching, and I was like, I just need to listen to these women who have gone through it. The more I read the journals, the more I listened to these women who have gone through it, the more the Spirit was telling me, holy hell, this is false.
Run! Run!
And if this is an eternal principle, shouldn't the Spirit be affirming that?
Yeah. And I mean, I didn't get any affirmations when I studied polygamy that this was true and right.
So my question changed from like trying to find that like peace about polygamy to, does Heavenly Father love me as a woman?
And respect me.
Yeah. And that's when I went down this super deep hole and left the church, because I don't see it. I don't see it in the LDS church of the respect.
I don't see it in the doctrine anywhere.
Yeah. So in the book, The Ghost of Eternal Polygamy, which is an excellent book, she talks about how people sometimes will say, well, without polygamy, I wouldn't be here. Because they're from, like, they have polygamist ancestors. And I love the way she puts it. She's like, you're telling me that my intelligent spirit with all its zest and life, wouldn't have found a way down to earth. Like, it had to be through polygamy.
Well, also, gosh, there's lots of circumstances that you could have come into this world. Like, it's like, oh, here's a great example. Like, my mother was raped, and that's how I was born. So I support rape. What?
That's such a good example.
Like, no. Okay, like, yes, your life is a gift, and however you got here, we're glad you're here. But it doesn't mean you have to support the way you got here.
Yes.
Or where you came from. You can honor where you came from and be better.
Okay, so I get the feeling when I hear something like that they're almost proud they come from like a polygamist heritage. Do you have that feeling?
Well, I come from polygamist heritage.
Oh, look at that little girl.
I went and studied my family history because I wanted to see if I had any ancestors that weren't Mormon, like ancestors I could feel connected to, they're rebellious spirits. Yeah, hardly any. I am so Mormon, like back 5 generations. The only reason it's not back 6 generations is because Mormonism didn't exist 6 generations ago. That's how Mormon my family is. And because I have a rich Mormon heritage, I found 3 polygamous families in my history. I wouldn't say I'm proud, but I do find it interesting.
Yes. I think, though, there is a culture of being, like, proud of, look where we came from. And that goes back to that, what's it called? Persecution complex?
Yes.
Yeah, like kind
my ancestors were persecuted, which made me a better person.
Yes. Exactly. Okay, so I don't know what reason we're on now. But salvation is a personal matter. Exaltation is a family matter.
That made me cry.
Yeah. But with that is the idea that Joseph Smith wanted kin. And that was like a reason why he did polygamy, is because he wanted all these sealings. Like, if you are all sealed together, if we're all together, then we're going to extend into heaven together, right? That kind of thing. Yeah. And so only men...
Wait, I got a song. All alone, you just can't make it. By ourselves we fall behind. If we lift and pull together, we can make each other shine. Oh, that was what Joseph Smith was feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Deep in his soul. I don't buy it, but he was sealed to women, which there's proof that he didn't have sexual relationships with. So I think a part of him believed it, but at the same time, sex was a big reason for these polygamous marriages. I mean, you can go back to the scriptures. That is the reason. That is the reason God sanctioned polygamy. With this whole exaltation is a family matter. So sealings, it all comes back to sealings. Sealings are the reason. Sealings are like why we do this, which we will talk about that. The whole idea of sealings came after Joseph Smith screwed up. But obviously, I mean, we can't really like fight against that. Like sealing. Okay, so you believe in sealings.
Do you want to just talk about it right now?
Oh, sure.
Because I don't know much about this, so guys, let's have Kendra talk about this. Tell me, Kendra.
About what?
I don't know the sealing and Joseph Smith growing up and how.
Oh, it's just the time period. So it goes to the Fanny Alger. So.
Oh, Fanny Alger.
Fanny Alger. So yes, we can talk about this. Let me grab out my Fanny Alger notes. Okay, so pretty obvious. Fanny Alger was an affair.
Yes,
I think it's pretty obvious. You're going to have people who are going to be like, no, he knew. But Fanny Alger was a teen in their house. And so she worked as, she helped with the family. So she was pretty much Joseph Smith's first wife. So
wait, second wife. Emma was the first wife.
Yeah. First polygamous wife, yes. Joseph Smith was caught
fornicating in the barn.
Yes. And I think it's pretty clear that Emma was the person who caught them, but Oliver Cowdery wrote it as like a dirty, nasty, filthy affair.
And who's Oliver Cowdery, Kendra? Joseph Smith's best friend who helped him write the Book of Mormon.
Funded it too.
Yeah, helped him write the Book of Mormon, put his own money in, and was like in the first presidency.
Yeah.
So Oliver Cowdery, when he said this about Joseph Smith, was not one of Joseph Smith's enemies. One of his closest people.
He was excommunicated for saying that.
Even though it was true.
Yep. Weird.
And Fanny was sent away.
Yeah. So 1831 to 1833, sometime during there, was the affair with Fanny. So the idea is that Joseph Smith already was like talking to God about like all the men in the Old Testament who had like concubines and wives, and he was asking questions like, well, what is this, God? And so that's when it was revealed to him. Oh,
probably through a dirty dream.
You should have sex with your surrogate daughter.
God, was that you? That dream last night, it was you. I know it.
So, 1835, the DNC came out with the Article of Marriage saying that the church members were being accused of polygamy, but declared that one man should have one wife and one woman should have one husband. And it was in DNC.
You can't find it today, though. Not in mainstream Mormonism.
Oh, really?
Wait.
I don't know. It's in DNC. It's not 132. It's like...
No, they took it out.
Did they?
It's not in... So, they replaced that later with 132. With 132.
1835, they come out saying, I don't know where all these rumors are coming from. People are crazy. We like the two people thing.
Yeah. We're monogamous.
Monogamous. Okay, so 1843, Revelation was written down for Emma to convince her that polygamy was this awesome thing and she needed to just accept it, or otherwise she was just going to be destroyed.
Wait, so it wasn't 1843 when Joseph Smith got the revelation from God rebuking Emma because she wouldn't accept polygamy?
Yeah.
Was that it?
Yeah.
And that's so convenient.
So, and then 1844, oh my gosh, Joseph Smith told the saints, what a thing it is for a man to be accused of committing adultery and having 7 wives. When I can only find one, I am the same man and as innocent as I was 14 years ago, and I can prove them all perjurers. Is that how you say that word? Perjurers?
I'm not sure.
But
at this time, we already know how many wives he had. And guess what? It wasn't 7.
Nope.
Just like he said, it wasn't 7.
He's a freaking liar.
It was 25.
So, my thing is, Joseph Smith is lying. Blatantly lying. Speeches, talks, newspapers, he says it all. How can we trust him at all to actually be telling the truth about like God or like his revelations and stuff like that? So the thing is, before his affair with Fanny, obviously affair, he didn't even have the sealing power. It wasn't even given to him because it was part of the revelation of polygamy.
So, guys, if he didn't have the sealing power, if it hadn't been revealed to him and he hadn't received that sealing power and he had an affair with Fanny, what are you going to do with that information?
Yeah, exactly. So my favorite, Joseph Smith's favorite thing to do was deny, deny, deny. It's not happening. Don't know what it's doing. If that didn't work, he excommunicated, threatened, or sent his horde to go ruin people who were telling the truth.
He also burned a printing press down that accused him of polygamy, and that's how he ended up in jail when he was shot.
Yeah, and the man's printing press that he burned down was actually a pretty good standing in the church at one point.
It would be like Nelson going and burning down Uchtdorf's printing press.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't agree with what he said.
Because Nelson is accusing Uchtdorf, or no, Uchtdorf is accusing Nelson of polygamy. Okay, I feel like you should redo all that so it sounds better. I mean, these are high-ranking, good-standing men, and they're accusing, one is accusing, like, the other of polygamy, and it's true. And so
Joseph Smith was a liar.
Yeah, plain and simple. And he died because he was lying about polygamy. Like, he went to jail because he put out, like, hey, this printing press is telling awful things about your prophet. You guys should, like,
take care of that.
Yes. And then that's obviously against the First Amendment. So he went to jail and then was shot after killing 2 men himself.
I like how you're like, accurate history here.
Very accurate. Well, I never knew that Joseph Smith had killed men. Why in the jail they make it sound like he was just this innocent lamb, but that's not true. He had a gun. Okay, so he married an estimate of 33 wives. 11 were married to other men, and 6 of those 11 were active Mormon men in good standing. And so...
so why... Yeah, that goes back to the... Oh, if you're righteous, you... why is he taking righteous men's wives?
Like, why aren't those men sealed to their wives?
If they're righteous.
Yeah.
So, like,
Well, and I think with him, I don't know if it was him that started this, but definitely by Brigham Young's time period, if a wife didn't like her husband, she could, like, upgrade to a more righteous priesthood holder. And so the more righteous priesthood holder you were, the more wives you had. And so... Like, it's just this hierarchy of righteousness and who you are, and
if I was a man, I'd be so insecure in my marriage knowing that my wife could leave me if she liked a bishop or a stake president or a prophet more than me.
And no one would look down on her because it's righteousness. Like,
and they would look down on you. They'd be like, you weren't righteous enough to keep your wife.
Loser. So, I don't think anything was beyond Joseph Smith's conquest. Like, in Nauvoo, he was the ultimate power. And I think the story of Xena Huntington really illustrates this. Do you know that story at all?
I'm familiar with Xena. You tell it.
Okay, so she and Henry, I think she was 19, right? She and Henry had been courting. Henry is an active member, good standing. They've courted. They were in love. And Joseph Smith had approached her 3 times to be married to her. And she 3 times told him, no, I'm not interested in that. And so turned him down. And so the teaching of plural marriage was all done in secret. So there's not like any evidence as Xena was, is it Xena? Xena was actually telling Henry any of this, or Henry knew any of it, but it was all really secretive. In fact, a lot of it was women convincing other women to do it. And we're saying, this felt weird to me the first time I heard it, but then I got this revelation and I felt good about it. And then all these positive things are happening, convincing other women. So Henry and Xena. Henry and Xena were supposed to be married.
Now I'm worried it's Xena.
Xena. I think it's Xena. Okay, Henry and Xena were supposed to be married by Joseph Smith, but he never showed up to the wedding.
What?
Have you heard this?
I didn't know that part of the story.
Yeah, he never showed up to the wedding. And so they had...
He's all bitter that Xena won't marry him. I'll show her.
I can't remember who they had, but he was a mayor, and he actually went... John C. Bennett. Big name. So they actually had John C. Bennett do it. But When asked why, he told them that the Lord had made it known unto him that she was to be his celestial wife, and he could not give away that which was already his. Ooh. Burn. So that was, that's what he said. So he approached Xena's brother, Dimmick, and taught him about plural marriage, and then told him to tell Xena that he had put it off as long as he could. The angel was getting really antsy and gonna chop off his head or whatever. Maybe
you will be responsible for an angel with a flaming sword killing me if you don't marry me.
I wonder if the angel was threatening to cut off his balls. That would have been more of the God I would follow. All right.
Anyway.
So he had put it off as long as he could, but that damn angel was getting that drawn sword, kept threatening him. So she was sealed to Joseph Smith 8 months after being married to Henry, and she was pregnant with Henry's child. But so they did it in secret. Xena declared herself a wife of the martyred prophet after polygamy was kind of made known, and Brigham Young married Xena while she was still married to Henry and pregnant with another one of Henry's children. I think they had 5 together or something like that. Right when the Nauvoo temple became they were doing sealings and stuff, so she became married to Brigham Young, and it wasn't a celestial marriage because she was sealed to Joseph Smith, and so pretty much their marriage just kind of dissolved. Her and Henry's.
Joseph Smith liked his wives having other husbands to take care of them, because he couldn't take care of all of them because Emma hated his multiple wives.
And that's the thing, he didn't treat any of his wives like wives.
Yes, but Brigham Young actually severed Henry and Xena. He wouldn't let... Henry came back for Xena.
I feel like there is evidence of Henry significantly trying to be with Xena over and over and over again. And Brigham Young, all-powerful Brigham Young, just kind of stepped in and said, she's my wife. And their marriage kind of just dissolved, and he went on a mission. Henry went on a mission, and Xena was just married to Brigham Young.
Yeah.
I don't even know if she ever got divorced from Henry. She just was automatically married to Brigham Young. So
yeah. And, I remember... This is how I remember it. And if we're getting it wrong, go ahead and correct us in the comments. But if this is the right wife-husband that I'm thinking about, he comes back together, and Brigham Young's she is not yours anymore, but you can be a polygamist if you want to be.
I'll give you
You
wives.
You can't have the wife you want, but you can have as many of the other wives as you want.
Yeah.
How insulting.
The thing is, it's just almost property. Oh, I want this piece of property, but you know what? I'll find you some other pieces of property that you can have and kind of, love, I guess. You can force love.
And
right? That kind of thing.
if Xena's the right one we're thinking about, and if we're even saying her name right, she was also the one that said polygamy is not about love. And I'm well, that's depressing.
Yeah. Yeah, Xena Huntington Young, I think, is everything. But pretty much, I think that illustrates the fact that Joseph Smith thought he could have any woman he wanted, anything he desired. And that goes to that cult leader mentality of they start out with obedience to the leader. It's all about obedience to the leader because obedience to the leader shows that it's obedience to God. So they make themselves all powerful, and then they can go to anyone and get anything out of it. So have you heard of the happiness letter?
Tell everyone about the happiness letter.
Okay, so another story that I really like is the happiness letter, which I think is really funny because it's actually quoted a lot in
church talks.
Yeah, modern church talks. The happiness is the object of our design, and the
happiness is the object of our design,
and the something is the product there. I don't know. Look it up. It's great. Mormon Discussions. The podcast Mormon Discussions did an awesome episode on it. It's about 2 hours long, and it is, if you can listen to that episode and say an active Mormon and make it twist in your mind to oh, these guys are saying it false, kudos to you, because that happiness letter shows the true nature of Joseph Smith in a way that I have never seen before. That guy, complete authority. He had complete authority over everyone. So the happiness letter was a letter he wrote to Nancy Rigdon, who they brought Nancy Rigdon in Joseph Smith
Wait,
was...
is Nancy Rigdon Sidney Rigdon's daughter?
I do believe so.
Oh, my word. And Sidney Rigdon is also, like, a big name in Mormon history. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, these guys are all, remember?
Yeah.
Sent together. So, Nancy Rigdon, she's 19. They bring her in. Joseph Smith's like, I have desired you my whole life, or your whole life. I know that you're supposed to be my wife. You know, you have to marry me.
So creepy.
And she's like, no, you're like a psycho. You're too old. You have a wife. This is adultery, bigotry. I don't want anything to do with it. Stomps out. He's like, I'm going to, he had, now I can't remember who it was. He had another woman who was living in the printing press, above the printing press, go and talk to her.
Not just any woman. Another woman living above the printing press. He'd sent her husband
he had sent
on a mission and married her. Yes.
And she was destitute, which is the reason why I think she married him, because she had 3 children, no way to provide for them.
Because her husband was sent on a mission.
Joseph Smith's like, I'll take care of you, but in the meantime, you need to be still to me and be a polygamous wife.
And convince Nancy Rigdon to be my wife.
Yeah. So, happened that way. So, he writes this letter to Nancy Rigdon. The thing is, this letter shows every mind twisting thing that you can you can make up with about polygamy. And okay, so what it is it turns that which is wrong in one circumstance could be right in another circumstance. So, for example, murder, bad, not supposed to happen, against God's rules. But in Nephi's, whole Laban thing, he had to kill Laban because it was the right circumstance. So, polygamy, bad. Bigotry, adultery, bad.
Unless it's with me.
Yes, because I'm the prophet, and the prophet equals God. So you should just, have sex with me. So pretty much that which is wrong in one circumstance, this can be right in another circumstance. And that whole letter just talks about it in a way that really elevates Joseph Smith's status.
Can I say my favorite part about the letter?
Yes.
He tells her she has to burn it when she's done reading it.
And she doesn't. Which is why we have
I mean, isn't that great? And burn this. That's not a sign.
Yeah.
There's your sign right there. He just asked you to burn it.
Yes. So, religious rhetoric to that, it's just religious rhetoric. It's just this over and over of religious rhetoric. But what's great about it is it mentions nothing about sealings. Mm-hmm. It mentions nothing about creating these families in eternity. Nothing of what people say
polygamy is all about.
Yeah. Nothing in that letter. It was all about obedience to him. And that equals obedience to God. So, crazy letter. Please, please, please go to Mormon Discussions and listen to that episode, the happiness letter. It's amazingly well done.
Thanks for coming today, guys. Let us know in the comments what you think. While you're down there, click the subscribe button, and we will see you later. Bye!
Bye!